Does anybody remember The Division 2? I loved the first Division game and I played it a ton, but when the second one came out, I played through the main story once upon release and just stopped. But lately, my gooch has been itching for The Division, so I decided to go back to The Division 2 in 2024 and just see what it's like now. And I'm honestly surprised about what I found. I did a little bit of research, and apparently they still regularly update the game, like a lot, and there's even a new DLC on the way, which is crazy. This game came out in 2019, so that's pretty awesome. Not only that, but The Division 3 is confirmed that it's in the works and it will be releasing in the future. So there's no better time to give the game a shot than right now. First up, I want to talk about the story, and I will only very briefly touch on this because, as you probably know, The Division is not about the story at all as much as it is about the gameplay and the endgame activities, which I'll touch on a lot later. The Division is a looter shooter MMO RPG. It heavily focuses on just building your character to your liking and grinding endgame content. It's a live service game, but it's one that actually does it right. I feel like we all groan at the words live service because they are so very often poorly done. It's usually just a scheme to keep players coming back so the company can make more money. But The Division is the most well done live service game that I have ever played. Normally I want to punch a hole in the face of devs who make live service games, but definitely not here. The Division 1 is literally one of my favorite games ever. The setting in New York City during the wintertime hits so hard. The story is genuinely good, and of course the gameplay is just amazing. Unfortunately, off the bat though, I can tell you that these things are kind of missing in The Division 2. The gameplay is absolutely on par with The Division 1, but the setting and the story, in my opinion, are just a complete miss in the sequel. This is totally subjective. It might not be the case for you, but New York City during Christmas time is one of the coolest game locations that I've ever played in all of gaming. Washington, D.C. in the summer, on the other hand, was not. Plus, it just felt like I was in a jungle more than the capital of the country. All the plants were completely overgrown and taking over buildings. The streets had tall grass and foliage. What is this, The Last of Us? The game takes place only 7 months after shit hit the fan. Why are we in a jungle? I don't know, the setting just doesn't really hit in the second game, and the story definitely didn't either. It was a complete mess, and it was all over the place. There wasn't much in terms of storytelling. Not that there was an abundance of storytelling in the first one, but this one, they just didn't care about the story. I zoned out for most of it, just trying to get to max level. There's also multiple different settlements and locations to build up and upgrade, rather than just one single base of operations like in the first game. I don't know, man. I just liked it the way the first game did it. One main base of operations and then 3 wings to upgrade, and they give you certain rewards. All of these different settlements to upgrade and fix up just felt like busy work. In the first game, it was a fun time getting to max level with a new character. Here, it honestly just wasn't. It just felt like a chore to get through the main story. The first game just had such good world building, man. There were different factions of enemies with their own lore. They felt so unique from one another and they acted differently. In this one, it's pretty much just the hyenas and the true sons. And they act basically the exact same. It wasn't awful by any means, but playing through the base game is a solid 5 out of 10. As I said, I won't spend too much time here. Yes, the story is important, but people play The Division for the end game content. That's what matters. Before I touch on that though, I want to talk about the Dark Zone. The Dark Zone in The Division 2 is absolutely abysmal compared to 1. For those of you who aren't aware, the Dark Zone is a really innovative feature in these games. It's a place in the game where it's PvPvE. The best loot in the game is supposed to come from the Dark Zone, and the Dark Zone itself has its own leveling system as well, so it's another aspect of the game to level up your character in. When you get loot in the Dark Zone, you have to extract it, and when you do, it marks your location on the map for all of the other players to see, and NPCs will rush you while you try to extract this new loot that you got. It is a really fun mechanic that was done so well in the first game. The Dark Zone map was different from the main map, and all the factions were so diverse. The extract locations were unique, and they offered an actual challenge. Here in The Division 2, the map looks the exact same. It does not look different at all, and all of the factions look and act pretty much the exact same. Plus, I didn't even find any loot that I liked, to be honest. I didn't spend a ton of time here either because no one does the Dark Zone in The Division 2. It is a completely obsolete mechanic that almost nobody plays anymore, which is sad because I loved it in The Division 1 and it was such a unique aspect for these games. Like, the way that it's set up in The Division 1 is the perfect extraction shooter ever, and it's not even the main point of the game. It's just a side aspect of it to help build up your character more. It was so fun. and it's such a miss in The Division 2. One last thing that I have to touch on before we talk about the bread and butter of the game, which is the endgame content, is the Warlords of New York DLC expansion. This expansion increases your maximum level from 30 to 40, and you do this before hitting the endgame grind. It basically isn't even an expansion, it's almost a requirement if you want to play The Division 2, especially nowadays. It's pretty much part of the game. The really nice thing is that if you have this expansion, you can just skip straight to it. Instead of grinding to level 30 on your own, you can just start a new character at level 30 and jump straight into the expansion. I think this is a wonderful feature, but at the same time, I wonder if the devs knew that the base game just wasn't that good, and so they made this an option. Regardless, I wanted to see what it was like to go from level 0 to level 30, so I did. I finished the base game from a brand new character, and then I made a new character and just jumped to level 30 and then ran the expansion. And I have to say the expansion is far better than the main game. It takes you back to New York City. It's a much more linear version, and it's obviously not as open as the entire first game, but I love this setting far more. Plus, the story for the expansion is miles more interesting than the actual base game. A very quick rundown for you. Basically, there are a bunch of Division agents who go rogue and work against the Division. They're helping a dude named Aaron Keener who actually manufactured the virus and started the pandemic to begin with, and you have to hunt down these rogue agents to get to Keener and stop him. There's tons of cool audio tapes, and it's just a far more interesting story. Plus, it gives you unique skills as well that the base game doesn't, further expanding your build options. I have to say, if you just start a new character at level 30 and then play the expansion until you hit level 40 and then start grinding the endgame content, your experience with the game is honestly a solid 8 out of 10 instead. If it's your first time ever playing The Division, then yeah, sure, play the base game, whatever, but you get what I mean. For most players, this is a far better option, especially if you're just interested in endgame content and gameplay rather than grinding through a 20-hour campaign that doesn't really matter. And now we are on to the endgame content. Let me just say, it is absolutely better than the first game. They really took their time with the endgame on The Division 2. At the end of the Warlords DLC, you get a Shade Watch, and this becomes your new leveling system. Each time you level up, you get a Shade level instead of a character level, and as you get more levels for your watch, you can invest them in these little nodes. Each node gives you boosts for different statistics, and it just further strengthens your character. The amount of levels needed to max out these nodes is 1,000. So you literally can level up your character 1,000 more times, and you can keep going after that. That's just all you need to max out the nodes here, but you can just keep on leveling up your character after that. Once you're in the endgame, you can start grinding for a great build that suits your playstyle. You can replay missions at the highest difficulty for the most amount of XP reward and loot reward. You can farm control points for XP. There's new game modes you can play. There's daily and weekly activities. The Division 2 has been wonderful about releasing manhunts to complete as well. Just like the Warlords of New York DLC, there are other manhunts you can go on to just hunt down rogue Division agents. Obviously, the reward is XP. The grind continues and it's beyond addicting, man. There's so many levels to this game. The build variety is mind-blowing. It's actually sickening how many insane builds you can make to have the best possible Division character. Each season that the game comes out with offers new manhunts and new daily and weekly and monthly challenges. You can unlock weapon blueprints and mods. There's different skins that you can unlock. There's so many different things that you can do. And just like every other game right now, there's seasons to it. But like I mentioned previously, The Division 2 has done the best job at the live service approach that I've personally ever experienced. The end game for this game is so awesome. There's just so much to do and the builds are so fantastic. There's so many guns and different gear pieces to grind for. The bosses and the manhunt events are fantastic, and it just kept me engaged. The gameplay in the Division series is beyond unique. It truly is. I've never played a game with movement and different game mechanics like the Division. It's what makes this game so fun. It is addicting to just create a build and then run and gun with it in this game. It's the sole reason that people play it. So with all the aspects of the game out of the way, this is my verdict. It is the single best live service game on the market. It is done in a really good way where the devs actually care about the game. They're not just simply trying to make money off of you like all of the other live service games. I really wish that the base game story was more fun and entertaining because holy shit, it was not at all. But the Warlords DLC is short and sweet and you can just skip to it at level 30 and play the DLC to level 40 and then just get your Shade Watch and jump straight into the endgame content. The fact that that's an option, it truly brings the game to like a 9 out of 10 for me. If you like grindy games like this is 1000% the game for you. It's got such a wonderful wonderfully crafted world. Although I like New York during Christmas better, DC is still great and they do a really good job world building too. It feels like you're actually in a post-apocalyptic world with no government. They do a really great job with this game. The end game is just done so well, and I got hooked so fast. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. Like I mentioned, when the game first came out, I played it day release, finished the story, and I literally just forgot about it. So truly, I'm beyond shocked that I found it this much fun. I'm hooked on it. Remember, I'm live 4 times a week every Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. So please make sure to subscribe and join the live. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like and let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts on The Division 2 are. I genuinely am actually interested in what your take is and what your experience with the game is. I love reading different perspectives on games, so please leave a comment, let me know, and let's discuss. That's all for now. I'll see you guys later.